Freddie's on one-on-one. Can Freddie turn his shoot? Can Freddie get a shot? Yes! Unbelievable! Apologies to the neighbours. Good evening. Welcome to New York Talk. No Rotherham games to talk about, really. But we're still going to have a good go at trying to find some Rotherham-related stuff to talk about this afternoon, this evening, wherever you listen to us. We are live through YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook today. So if anybody's watching or listening through there, you feel free to get involved and comment on any topics you want us to discuss. Ian Brandon's all there with us, saying good evening. Good evening, thank you for joining us, Ian. And if you listen on audio, make sure you've subscribed for future episodes. And as we'll mention again, Roll for episode coming up next week or so keep a close eye on that. We have Mick and Danny with us joining us. Thank you for joining us, boys.
No worries.
Yeah, good evening.
Mick
from Wales.
Yeah, and Mick's in North Wales, so a regular listener. If you're new to us, welcome. If you have been with us before, you will be aware of the issues Mick has had broadcasting live from Wales in the past. So,
at least he's not in a car park this time.
Well, I do know.
It's a pretty car park.
It's a posh-looking car park if it's got nice flowers and that.
Well, it's got curtains. let's not go any. Let's not delve any deeper into that, shall we?
Yeah. No, I think that's covered as much as we can. So we're going to talk about the few international players that have been away. We've got a couple of topics to talk from Twitter on there as well, and it's International Week. If we don't cover everything that there is, with something wrong.
International Week.
International Week. England have a 5-0 win, and England will qualify on Tuesday. They will. So let's have a look at the internationals. There's only one place to start with the internationals, mate. Chio Ogbene. The feel-good story of International Weekend. Not only is the first African player to play for Ireland, he has now scored a goal for Ireland, and he scored a header for Ireland, mate.
Yeah. Brilliant. And I mean, he was playing as part of the front two as well, rather than out wide.
It was, right. Yeah.
And obviously, I mean, I don't know what minute he came on, something like 60th minute, something like around about hour mark. And he was straight into it. Nearly providing an assist for the hat-trick for the other lad who I can't remember his name now. Robinson, yeah. So yeah, good performance. Nice to see. Great to see a Miller playing on international stage. Absolutely brilliant.
I know he's only Azerbaijan, Danny, but he did have a good old time causing some right problems with their defenders.
Yeah, I mean, I saw some of the Irish fans saying how fast he was and how easily he beat some players, and it's like you just come in to know what we expect from Chio. But no, he's definitely had some lessons from either Woody or Smudge. To have an header like that, because he's headed it from about 13, 14 yards out from goal and smashed in the top corner. So, they've been having lessons off somebody. But like you say, he played in a front two when he came on, so that might cause some more headaches for Warney. Like, hang on, he can play in the front line rather than the wings. So we've now found Chio's backup position. You can play as a striker. So now we've got 5, technically, haven't we?
Yeah, he played a couple of times last season as a striker, but more deep. He didn't play as far forward as he did for Ireland. But yeah, it's been great to watch the build-up to the game, obviously because of the story behind it. They interviewed him quite a lot. He speaks really, really well, mate. It just fits into that good human beings category. And the more it's one of the people, which says about a lot of our players. The more I listen to him, the more I watch him play, the more I just fall in love with the guy.
He just comes across as such a nice bloke, a happy bloke, who's just enjoying what he's doing, isn't he? And it's just great to see. It's fantastic to see, and yeah, lovely bloke, top fella.
Yeah. Another international, Shane Ferguson, I don't think came on for Northern Ireland against Switzerland. They went down to 10 men quite early on, though, so I think that impacted them. They got sent off for time wasted in like the 35th minute. It was brilliant.
I mean, that is just ridiculous. I don't know what the referee's thinking. I genuinely don't. I assume he's had a yellow card for something prior to that, obviously, because it was second yellow. But I mean, come on. I'm sorry. It's just bizarre, isn't it?
We need that ref in our game when Wigan come to town in a few weeks.
Oh yeah.
I swear we've had this conversation about whose goalkeeper was it when he got booked for time wasting in 36 minutes and he kept doing it. Was it now? It was. I think it was Crew, maybe.
Yeah, Crew actually.
Yeah, and it's like we were saying, can someone get booked twice for time wasting and be sent off? Well, I'll say Jamal Lewis got booked once and then got sent off, but I think it's a referee mistake. I think he's gone to book him for time wasting. Yeah, he already booked him, and then he's gone, oh, he's time wasted, I'm going to unbook him. And all Switzerland, was it Switzerland? Yeah, all their players went, oh, you've already booked him, that's twice, so now he has to send him off. But no, it's a ridiculous decision, to be honest.
Yeah,
it is. And I think that has impacted Ferguson getting any chance, really. The other international that did play wasn't McCuckin, the international, under 19s, Northern Ireland played, but didn't score. Josh Coyote started on Friday afternoon for the Republic of Ireland under 21s, got his goal. It wasn't a very good standard, Danny. It looked like under 21 football, to be honest with you.
But I mean, it's great experience for him because he's an international before he's really a first team regular in men's football. So I think he can just build on that. Like, he's got the match day experience internationally. So if he does get selected later down the line, when he's more of a senior professional, he's more weathered to it, if you like. So that can only be a good thing for Josh, for young JJ. And I think he'll be a fully fledged international soon. I think he's got that bit about him, but the only thing that's stopping him is regular first team football at Rotherham. As soon as he gets that, he's away, I think.
Yeah. I think you're probably right. Got some comments here. We've got Big Boys United is joining us evening. Says singles you out, Danny.
Yeah, he's my mate's football team. I said to him, "How come it's called Big Boys United? It sounds a little bit suspect, that." And he's like, "Oh, because we're all fat lads playing football." It's like, right, okay, I'll let you off that one.
Fair enough.
I'll be their latest signing in the summer.
Ray Smith is with us. He agrees. Great to see Ogbenny score. He bumped into Brex around Thyra Country Park, and he gave him full commentary on the depot at Hillsborough. A joy. It's brilliant. Cian Benson's with us as well. Let's see what this is all about. Nice to have you with us, Cian. I hope you enjoy it. Ian Bradley agrees that JJ is going to be a star, whether it's with us or not remains to be seen. Let's hope it is with us. Let's now move on from internationals. Unless you have any other international, Rotherham-related internationals, there's much more to cover, is there? No. Cool. We need to recover the Grig chat we had last week, don't we?
Yes.
Our understanding was there was no recall clause. The Paul Davies article came out a few hours after we finished recording, and it turns out there is a recall option in there, Mick, and apparently Sunderland insisted on that. Yeah. For me, I don't really get it. If you're going to loan a player out like we're going to be roughly there. I'm not saying we're going to be top spot, but we're going to be in and around the playoff picture. So the only reason you would put a recall clause in is to call him back to hurt us. Why would you loan him out to us in first place then?
Well, because first of all, we're little old Rotherham, aren't we? So we're never going to do out. And they're a massive, huge, enormous, stupendously massive club. So, how can we ever have any impact on them? But just in case that we actually do, then they'll put that recall clause in there. I've thought about this since we talked about it on the last podcast. And if we are anywhere near that top 6 come January, they will recall him. I don't see how there's any doubt about that whatsoever. That, in my view, I hope I'm wrong, but I think they will recall him, and I would also go as far as to say we will not buy him. I just don't see how we can afford, not necessarily a transfer fee because he's got 6 months left on his contract or whatever with them, but we're not able to afford to pay his wages. So unless he's going to take a wage cut to come to us, I don't think we'll be able to afford to buy him. And there'll be people queuing up to, bear in mind the likes of Ipswich and piggies down road spending money like it's going out of fashion. I mean, they would just absolutely love that, wouldn't they? That would be right up their street, that, to come and sneak in January and nick him.
I mean, look at it's difficult to find players' wages, and I suppose rightly so. The closest thing I could find on it is on around $6,000 a week. I thought it was much more than that. I thought we'd be talking 10. That's from two. I can't remember the websites. Two different websites say around $6,000 a week. We're not going to pay $6,000 a week, but that's not crazy money.
No, I mean, I think our highest earners up that way anyway. But yeah, like Mick said, I think the recall option is probably there to hurt us if, say, we go above Sunderland at some point and we are still above them in January. They'll recall Grigg and try and send him out somewhere else, and it'll hurt us, and then they'll try and go above us. But I think if you put business hats on and look at it, it could be a way of, right, we'll send him on loan to Rotherham. If he does really well, then we'll recall him and try and get a bit of money out of him. Now, whether or not we'll pay the money they want for him or he goes somewhere else is another issue. But you can see why the recall option loans there is it's a little bit like what happened with Kiefer Moore. He came on loan to us, did really well, got recalled and then sold on. So something similar could happen. But I will just say, when I saw the article come out, I went very embarrassed and hid in my bedroom for the rest of the night. So I honestly thought it was here for a season-long loan, but if there's a recall option, then it's virtually nailed on. Sunderland will enact it in whatever sense of malicious or business they want to do it. And I think it might be in relation to hanging on to Michael Smith in the summer if we keep hold of Grigg in January. So, fingers crossed.
But in terms of moving on, there is a question mark over that, because obviously the FIFA rules say you can't play for more than 2 clubs in a season. He has played in the League Cup for Sunderland. Now, I haven't been able to find this clarification anywhere. I don't know if the League Cup counts as an appearance under that law, under that rule, or whatever it is.
Well, why would it not?
I don't know.
It's an EFL sanctioned competition. Yeah, but I mean, it's an EFL sanctioned competition, as is the Football League.
Yeah.
So
my guess would be that it counts.
Which puts a different complexion on it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It puts it into a different situation. But nevertheless, I cannot see Sunderland just going, "Oh no, it's right. Don't worry about it, kid." You know what I mean? It's not going to happen, is it?
No. The hope is that they don't care. The hope is that arrogance is not the right word. The hope is that they're confident enough in their own squad and their own team that they think, it don't matter anyway, because we can't play against him, so he's not going to hurt them. I don't know. It's an interesting one, that, and I suspect they'll win. If I was Sunderland, I'd call him back. But if I was Sunderland, I wouldn't have loaned him out in the first place. So,
well, yeah, I mean, if we were Sunderland, they wouldn't be in that position. It wouldn't be in a position where a player of his quality and his experience had been consigned to, not even bench. It wouldn't happen.
Yeah, but you could use something like a Sadler as an example. Well, why would we loan Sadler? I say that we've loaned Tilt out to Wigan, I suppose. But that was a silly move, letting him go back to Wigan. I don't agree with it, but I can see why it happened. But it is the equivalent of loaning Sadler out to Sunderland. It'd be stupid, although he's not getting in our team. If they think he's going to improve their squad, why would we do that?
Yeah, but we hadn't sort of sidelined him deliberately because we don't like him. We're not saying Kieran Sadler don't fit our club ethos or whatever it is. You can go and train with juniors, kid. That's not what's happening here, which it appears is what happened with Will Grigg at Sunderland. I don't know whether it did or not, but it certainly didn't fit into their plans in any way. Don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But like you said, that issue of playing for 2 clubs in one season does become a problem for Sunderland. Now they've done that, they may have shot themselves in the foot a little bit there, or they may just recall him and sit him on bench.
It doesn't seem well thought out from Sunderland, Danny. We might have misread something some way, based on the situation.
It could have something to do with the Doncaster deal as well, because I've heard that Grigg was meant to be going to Doncaster on a 3-year deal, and they were ready to go with that. But he's come to us on loan. Now, whether or not we want him on loan because it's reduced wage that we have to pay, or we wanted to take him on loan to have a look at him first. And then the only reason Sunderland have got the recall option is if we want to take him on a permanent, they can say, right, we'll take him back in January and you pay us the fee for him. That could be it, and it could be we could be looking too much into the malicious side of it. But you never know in football, really, do you? But like I say, with the with it like being cup tied and club tied. You have to look at when we loaned Tilt out the first time to Wigan. We recorded him in January, and he was on the bench for the FA Cup game against, was it Everton?
Yes.
Yeah. So he was on the bench, and that was him done. That was his 2 clubs. So he didn't even have to play for him. He was just in the match day squad, and that's him done.
Right.
So the only club we could send him back to was Wigan. So if Griggs already appeared for Sunderland in the League Cup, and now he's come to us, that's him done.
Yeah.
You know, they are your 2 clubs this season, mate. So I don't know.
It's interesting.
I like the way you said it weren't very well thought out by Sunderland, Matt. It's like they've got a history of thinking things out particularly well. You know what I mean? Look where they are. Look at the financial state they found themselves in. A League One club playing £5 million for a striker who they don't play. They don't. They clearly previously as a club, you know, a management team or whatever, clearly don't think things out very well, do they? And it would appear that seems to have continued in this case. We'll see. But I suspect they'll call him back, and then we could start moaning about Tony Stewart not digging his hand in his pocket, can't we?
I suppose it comes down to Griggs' choice as well. Like, would he rather just go back to Sunderland and sit on their bench and like make maybe 6 or so appearances, or would he try and force a move out? Or he says, no, I want to go back there. You know, there is a little bit of player input that can happen to the point where if it comes to extremes, he could actually go on strike against Sunderland if they recall him and then just choose not to play him. Because it is a player-focused world now these days. It didn't used to be. It used to be clubs, but now it's changed into players because of the PFA and such. You can tell I've learnt about this at uni, can't you? But there is a certain amount of swing on Griggs' part, but like we say, it's one of them things where wait until January, see what happens. It could be the exact same thing as we did with Wigan with Till last season. Or it could be something completely different and suddenly just go, we don't like you being above us, recall him just to hurt us, and then we've only got 3 strikers.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Russ Bale is on Facebook and joined us. Mick, I think you've seen me drinking Carlin. It's just really stellar. I'll be honest, I'm surprised you're drinking Carlin. You don't know where Carlin.
Well, it's because it's all that's left in fridge here, that's all. Otherwise, I wouldn't be drinking it. It's like I might as well. It were a toss-up between that and that. And the difference in taste is minimal, to be honest with you, but there you go.
Russ Bale with us on the Grigg situation. So you can't see them recalling Grigg. I think both wanted rid of each other. They're able to bad egg up there, apparently, but still their player. And we'll be interested to see how we both be up amongst it later on. But while he's here, let's hope he gets the goals and worry about later.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. We've got a couple of comments. We're going to go through some sort of different topics before we come back to Rotherham. We're going to have a sort of mini-season, not a review, but look back at the 11 games we've had so far. This is a touchy subject, Mick, but let's drill down in it. Now, this is a big story from Ireland. Callum Robinson, who scored the 2 goals in Azerbaijan, has been refused the COVID vaccine, which is obviously well within its rights. Ian Bradley asks, should he be allowed to play for Ireland? Now, the issue for me is, get your vaccine, don't get your vaccine, and you do your own research. This puts issues on travel, doesn't it? Really, other countries have different rules. It is potentially he's got into Azerbaijan, obviously, but he is, from a footballing point of view, he is putting himself in a bad situation. That's all we need to talk about, really.
Yeah, I guess, and is he putting his teammates in a difficult situation as well? Because if everybody else has been jabbed and he hasn't, he catches it. There's more chance of it. In my head, whether I'm right or wrong, I'm not a COVID conspiracy theorist, so I don't know. If you're more chance of catching it if you haven't had it than if you have. Therefore, you're gonna cause issues for your teammates and your team, as we found out to our cost last season with all those games postponed because of the COVID outbreaks. If you cause a COVID outbreak in your club, in your national team, you've got to think about that. You've got to give that some thought, and I would have thought that the management team would have to give that some thought as well. I personally, I don't get it, but that's his choice, like you said. But yeah, it strikes me as being a bit selfish, to be honest.
Okay. I enjoyed particularly Danny's manager called him an infectious character, which is quite a good word to use. Any thoughts you want to give on this, Danny?
Well, like you say, it's all down to personal choice with vaccines. I assume everyone on screen now is double jabbed.
Correct.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, 66. But yeah, I mean, it does come down to personal choice. He might have some sort of belief, or his family don't want him to have it or something. But if he ever goes to Ipswich's ground, he's going to have a bit of trouble because it's like Fort Knox getting in there. But yeah, it comes down to personal choice. But like Mick says, you are more likely to catch it if you haven't had your jabs, and it's more likely to affect you in a more severe way. I suppose I've got a bit of knowledge on my side because my uncle works in pharmaceuticals and used to work for AstraZeneca. And he's the one who says, if you get a chance to have your double jabs, have it because it's best thing for you. But, you know, it's not right to abuse him or go after him just because he's not double jabbed. It's his personal choice, but it will hit some sort of bump where they'll play someone who says you have to be double jabbed to travel or come into the country or whatever, and it'll just impede him. Hopefully that's not the case, and you know, COVID gets to a point where we don't have to really spread people out into the jabbed and unjabbed categories, because it might be a case of that in the Irish camp, the majority of them have had a jab, so he's more protected anyway because they're more protected and less likely to be severe and pass it on or whatever. But it's his personal choice, just leave him to it. If it affects him, it's his own fault for not having it done. But if not, then, you know.
Ian Bradley makes a good point. If it could affect Rotherham, if Chio gets COVID now, we'll be very, very unhappy with Callum Robinson. We'll be after you, mate.
Absolutely.
We'll go on strike at West Brom's ground and go we demand reparations for that.
On a more positive topic, Ian Bradley is with us again. Danny, you're wearing the England shirt, so I'm going to start with you on this one. Does anybody think the female officials in the England game were excellent? In the football history, they're the first full female team of officials to referee a game, I think, in professional football history. And they're one of the... this is always what I say about referees. I didn't really notice the referee. If I didn't know beforehand they were female referees, I wouldn't have noticed. It was a very solid game. I suppose an easy game to ref, but they did a very good job.
Yeah, I think it's one of them fields where it just comes down to ability rather than gender or sex or whatever. And to be fair, them three officials were better than some of the standard we've seen in League One this season. Correct. And in the Championship as well, and in the Premier League with some of the VAR decisions. So it's brilliant that it'll inspire lasses to go into refereeing and not be limited to the fact that they only see male refs in the middle at internationals and league football. It's great for the Her Game 2 campaign as well, so they should get on that. There were no difference really. There was no negative aspect to it really in terms of botching a decision. And yeah, it's just great for international football that we have the standard of official in both camps that can ref England games now.
We've seen it more and more, mate. There were another lineswoman yesterday. I can't remember which game we watched. Maybe the game we watched, the Lithuania game, what linos were I think. I can't remember. It's only one yesterday, one international game. And obviously Tuesday night against Scunthorpe. Again, the lino was a woman. We're seeing it more and more. We see a black referee the other week, which I think was the first black referee since Uriah Rennie in the EFL football. Yeah. We're seeing these different people in different times coming into a very, very tough game.
I find the female referee subject quite a fascinating one, to be honest with you, because I think probably without exception, the female referees I've seen have been absolutely excellent.
I'd like to draw your attention back to that Hull game a couple of years ago.
Yeah, well, that were a referee. Yeah, I accept that. But that was a lineswoman, and a linesman, assistant referee. And they obviously just took their cue from the clown that were refereeing in the middle. I know I am very critical of referees. I accept that, and I know probably a lot of the time I shouldn't be. You know, perhaps I'm a little bit. I go a little bit over the top with it. But my issue with them always has been is about consistency. And when I see female referees, I always seem to get consistency. You know, and I don't know whether it's a difference. Maybe I'm showing my age here. I don't know whether it's a difference between the male and female psyche, the male and female approach to those sorts of environments. But we always seem to get consistency from them, and it's not consistently bad. You know what I mean? It's just the consistency of decision making. They haven't got, and you put on top of that, they haven't got this I don't know, this sort of, because they haven't got to put this front on, you know, to show that I'm in charge kind of attitude. They just go about the business, and they go about it effectively and efficiently, and consistently. That's all we ask from any referee. And sadly, time and time again, when we're particularly in the Championship, not just for us but for everybody, the lack of consistency is breathtaking. It really is. You know, it's just remarkable. I watched the first 20 minutes of the England game and I got bored, to be honest with you. It was just a bit tedious. But what I saw of it, I thought the referee had put in a really good performance. Again, like I said, it was about the consistency. So yeah, I'm all for it, mate. Absolutely all for it. I think that, to be honest with you, like I said, from what I've seen, I think they should be all female teams, the refereeing, because they seem to be a lot better.
Yeah, well, then you still got people. Stuart Atwell's the IR referee for tonight's Nations League final. Quite like Mick.
Yeah, well, there you go. It's like it's one of those, isn't it? You know, I'm sure a lot of us who, you know, at work and everything else, we see these people getting promoted, all of whom are capable of talking a good job but not actually doing it. And Stuart Atwell's clearly one of those. He's right in there. I'm sure he can answer all the questions he needs to answer, you know, on paper. But when it comes to actually putting it into practice, he's clueless, and he shows it time and time again. I don't know. It's just bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah,
but there you go.
It is. Let's bring it back to Rotherham United. We've got a couple more questions from Ian on Twitter. This time from Twitter. I've got two sort of match day ticket related, which was sort of interesting point. He mentions the idea of a family day, like Bolton had, £10 a ticket for their return date. This is something the club normally do. They don't necessarily repeat it for Bolton. You know, it won't necessarily be a reciprocal agreement, but there is normally either bring a friend for a £5, kids for a £1. The club are generally quite good with these days. We don't have too many, Mick, but you'll get a couple a season.
Yeah, and rightly so as well. You know, we need to fill the stadium, don't we, as much as we possibly can. But I'm sure we'll come on to that. You know, yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's a good idea. The more people we can get through the door, the more people may well return. You know, people who don't come regularly, if they enjoy it, if they have a good time, then if they can get in. If they can get through turnstiles, you know, it's a good idea. It's a good idea.
I suppose for us, Danny, that Bolton have got a 30,000 seat stadium and get probably 10 to 15,000. They need to get more people in the stadium. We as a club generally don't sell out our home side, but 8,000 is not what we normally get as a home base. There's no need to pressure to get more fans in desperately.
Yeah, and I think the community days that we do at the club are very good. But like you say, we don't have a massive stadium that we can fill with everybody in for a in for a tenner or a £5. And I think the bring a mate for a £5 and kids for a £1 is a great way to bring people in from the community and not just get as many people in as you can, which I think is partially due to Bolton's family thing with the whole £10 thing and make it more accessible for everybody. But they've got the capacity to do that. And I've just had a quick look, and our average home attendance so far is 9,300 this season. Yeah. So
there's only one set of fans that's brought any real numbers, and that was Sheffield Wednesday. That's mostly home fans, isn't it, really?
Yeah. So there's not a desperate need, but with the community days, it just opens more doors for people to come in as well. And we've got a scheme already in place that's reimbursing people who might not have money due to COVID impact and such, where they can apply and get tickets for reduced price anyway. which is good because I've paid in my however much it was to that. There was a cancelled hospitality thing. I went, no, you can have it. Let someone else come in with my money. It's fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've got that in place. So, but it is a great thing to have family days at clubs because it just, like I say, it opens more doors to people and lets the younger kids come in and experience football, which will hopefully let them stick on and be Rotherham fans in future, and then just keep coming back.
Yeah. The prices for kids, I've got a season ticket for my 6-year-old. And I think the prices for under X, you got a season ticket for 30 quid. And that's brilliant. You can't argue with that. If you don't come for half at games, it doesn't really matter because it's only 30 quid and she's going to come to some games. So I think there are a lot of positives. And bear in mind, we don't charge 26 quid like Cheltenham do. I think there's positives from that point of view as well. Ian Bradley with another suggestion on Twitter. He wants to know, he thinks maybe we should have some more flexibility. For fans that work some Saturdays, work some Tuesdays. He likes the idea of introducing tickets for, let's say, 5 to 10 games. So 5 games, you buy not a season ticket, but game pass for 5 games, 10 games for games that they know that they can attend. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a good idea. Anything that allows people to get a little bit of a discount, but also put some money back into the club, is a good idea. And obviously, we buy season tickets, and in the main, they're able to get to every game. But some people work weekends and aren't able to. So yeah, I can see that. It's about the club has got to strike a balance, haven't they? They clearly they've got to make a profit. They need to bring the cash in. That's the first thing. But they also need to keep fans on side, and I'm sure the club are aware. Well, they are aware. They've proved it over the last 2 years. They are aware of the impact of COVID on people. They are aware of the financial difficulties some people are in, and I know they clearly do go some way to trying to help those people, and anything that they could do in that, to assist ticket wise would definitely be welcome. No issue with that at all. I think it's a really good idea.
Yes.
The issue is if you're reserving a seat and stuff like that, that's when it becomes potentially an issue. So, for example, I don't know if you've got one match left on your five game pass, and that match happens to be Sheffield Wednesday at home and it's sold out. That becomes the issue. Reserving the seat and reserving space and stuff like that. So that. The club can't either one can't sell that ticket just in case you turn up. So yeah, there are some logistical issues with it, but yeah, I'm sure nothing that can't be overcome.
Yeah, let's talk about attendances. I'm going to let Danny go first, because Mick will give himself to calm down after I ask the question. It was announced again just after we finished recording, which was very helpful. It was announced that due to effectively roadworks, we are having to reduce our capacity to 1,500, potentially till the end of the year. This is very poor, Danny. Not the club. First, it's important to point out this has nothing to do with the club and nothing to do with the stadium. It is all down to Rotherham Council making an absolute bodge job of what they're doing.
Yeah, so basically until end of the year we've got a capacity of 10,000. That's how Amanda Way fans, and it's just because Rotherham Council are taking the mickey building a bridge. And I mean, we've already got a system in place where you just skirt around the council building and then go up Don Street. Now, whether or not that is now inaccessible because of the bridge works, which I can't see why, we've already got a system in place which is a decent system. It's just that if you think there's going to be trouble at a game or something, you just have to have that police cordon on New York Way and just funnel the fans through the council car park, unless they've got on that we keep using their car park. I don't know. But yeah, it seems to be a bit of a silly decision and it seems to be a bit of a knee-jerk decision because the bridge is meant to be done by now. In the initial statement and what we've heard from the announcer, works are continuing until October. All right, fair enough. You've had 18 months with no fans in to do it anyway, but now it's suddenly December and we've had limited capacity. Now that'll impact the club by about roughly an average of 36,000 per game in profit from ticket sales, which doesn't sound like a lot, but for a club like ours, it could prove 2 weeks' wages for somebody. or for a number of players. So if the council have forced it upon us because of health and safety reasons, we should get a reimbursement from it. But because it's Rotherham Council, I can't see us getting squat from them. They've just gone, oh, you're going to have to limit your stadium. And because I think they partially own the stadium or something, or they've got some sort of holding over it or something like that, they can make that decision. And it's like, it's silly because it should be done by now, but unfortunately it's one of them things where you go, it's out of our hands. It's the high ups that have made the decision.
Yeah, it's a safety advisory group, which Mick may have a bit better knowledge of me than that. J-Boy says on here, it doesn't matter because we never sell out anyway. Well, for the Sunderland game, we would have sold out. And we're now down to, when it was announced on Friday, that then took us down to 200 tickets off being capacity. And the game's it's almost a month away. Sunderland's at the end of the month, isn't it? It's miles away. So it is causing problems. And like Danny says, it is going to cost us money. Luckily, we're not in the Championship, because that would be a sellout every single week in League One. We might not sell it every week, but it is still going to have quite a bad impact. Yeah, Mick, are you chilled out enough to give you a comment? Or
yeah, I mean, I don't know what anybody expects from Rotherham Borough Council. I don't know why anybody's surprised. Yeah, I mean, absolutely bang on. Take away from the football club. You know, you walk around town centre and all the wonderful buildings that used to be there that they just demolished. They seem to be on a I don't know. I mean, there's all sorts of problems council wise anyway. But let's stick with Rotherham United. Ultimately, there's been 18 months where we had no spectators in that football ground, where that work could have been carried out. And they've waited and waited and waited until the football ground opens again, and then they've started the work.
What work is it exactly? So we don't go that way.
I have no idea whatsoever. It's just a joke, but then the council are a joke, aren't they? But, you know, they've been in power for too long. That's the problem. You know, and it's about complacency, isn't it? They know that whatever happens, they will be in power come the next election, local elections, whatever. They know that that's the case, so they can just do what they want, and they do what they want. If that's costing Rotherham United 30 grand per home game, I mean, if I'm Tony Stewart, I'd be kicking doors of Riverside House down, absolutely. Because that is absolutely outrageous. But what do you expect? Like I said, and then when you start talking about safety advisory groups, as soon as you start getting into that world, they were absolutely scared senseless. They are scared senseless, these public bodies, because if the wheel comes off, they will get sued. They'll be in paper for a start, and they don't want to be in paper. They don't want to get any bad PR. They're not bothered about football supporters giving them a bit of jip. That's not what's relevant. It's not important. What's important is that they don't get any bad PR nationally, particularly for Rotherham, for obvious reasons. But yeah, I mean, it's a joke. It's embarrassing. But I don't know what anybody expects. I don't know why anybody's surprised. I'm not in the least little bit surprised that Rotherham Council have made a mess. Makes absolutely no surprise whatsoever. Useless.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. J-Boy also mentioned this is a very good point. To me, 1,500, he says, to me also, 1,500 is quite minuscule. What difference does it make? There's still 9,000 or 10,000 fans leaving the stadium.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because half of them wouldn't be leaving that way anyway. So you're probably saying you're making a difference of 700-ish fans because of the way that people leave. It doesn't make any sense. I
just want to know what dire circumstances change where suddenly we need a stadium limit on it. You know, it's like they've already started they've already more or less put the new bridge in or taking the old one up, whatever it is. And granted, yeah, there is a bit of heavy machinery there, but it'd be interesting to see what the big difference is between the last home game against Wimbledon and the next home game or the Sunderland game. And if I can see no difference, because I walk that way anyway, if I see no difference and people can see no difference on the vlogs that go up, then why have we got the stadium limit on it? And as well, it's like, yeah, all right. If we've got a big crowd in, why not just keep the the away fans back a bit? You know, it doesn't seem an issue for other stadiums just to go. If you're in the such and such stand or Sunderland fans or whatever, can you just wait behind 20 minutes until we shoo off a few home fans?
If you're expecting an explanation from Rotherham Council as to why they do something or why
true.
they make a decision, then you need to just have a quick word with yourself, Danny, because that's not going to happen. You know?
I expect too much. That's what it is.
Yeah, to expect something like that is just ridiculous. I think there is some issue in terms of holding supporters in the ground, some legal issue in terms of.
It's technically you're breaking the human rights.
It's
by
false imprisonment.
Yeah,
it's false imprisonment.
Technically, legally, you're falsely imprisoned.
By law, it is false imprisonment.
So does that mean when I went to Sheffield United when Sheffield United played Port Vale away with my dad, they held 4,000 fans back within the grounds of the stadium, so we weren't out in public space. They held us back whilst they shooed off the home fans. Was that against our human rights then?
I think it probably is, but it's a technical one, isn't it? You know what I mean? And the reality of it is it reasonable? Is it a reasonable request? Well, yeah, it is a reasonable request, but somebody could, if they felt so inclined, you know, try and stick one on you, and then you're into all sorts of cash, aren't you? And it's things like that organisations like Rotherham Council are absolutely desperate to avoid. They don't want any of that because somebody will get into trouble.
I'm telling you, we need a bridge from the south stand that goes over the river to the other side of town, so you can just shoo away fans that way. So there's no confrontation with home fans at all.
Yeah, they do. J-Boy mentions, like you also mentioned there, Rotherham fans get held back when we play Sheffield Wednesday away. It happens a lot. We've never done it at New York because of what we've just mentioned. But it still happens at other clubs. I don't quite understand the difference, but this is beyond our pay grade, really. B. Woodcock mentions what's it like for Portsmouth game. Portsmouth will bring a reasonable amount. They won't bring 2,500, but they'll bring a 1,000 or so. I would have thought, especially in Wales Bell, will be there probably. So looking forward to that. Let's bring it back. Let's talk about some football for the last 10 minutes of the show. Let's have a mini review of the first 11 games of the season. Did a bit of research today, and as best I can tell, this is our best start to a third-tier campaign since 1980-81, Mick. Which that season didn't have too bad, did it?
No, all right. That season it weren't too bad, were it? Weren't too bad.
A dodgy owner, but
apart from Anton in his first fur coat.
It was 2 points a game back then, but equivalent. That season was 1 point ahead of where we are now, so that was
Yeah, and look, we've got a squad that has the potential to be almost as good as that squad. So but there's going to be ups and downs, isn't there? We're going to lose 2 or 3 on trot at some stage in the season, more than likely. And then Knives will be back out again, and then we'll win 2 or 3, and then Knives will go back in again, and and then come May we'll know what's happening. But it's been a really, really good start, a really positive start. Not necessarily just even putting the results to one side, because to be fair, we've had some good victories, but the results have been a bit mixed. To be fair, we've had some clean sheets, but we've also had some poor results. But performance-wise, pretty much, with the exception of maybe a couple of games, the performances have been on the nose, and improving game on game as well. So for me, it's been a really, really good start. Really good start.
Yeah, no, probably only the Fleetwood game, Danny, is the one that sticks out as like a sore thumb. That was a poor performance. Other than that, even the Wednesday game, we played pretty well, and 2-0 probably flattened Wednesday by a goal. So there's been one bad performance in 11 games. If you keep that up for the season, that's going to get you promoted.
Yeah, and like you say, the Fleetwood one only sticks out, and it's also the only game that we've lost that we've scored in, because we lost 1-0 to Wigan and lost 2-0 to Wednesday. But I think the Fleetwood game is just a natural blip that all clubs have in a football season. You always have that one result that's like, how did that happen? And like you say, the Wednesday result, it probably flattered them, and maybe a goal would have been a bit kinder, because I think on the day they just edged it. They didn't really make us look like the lesser team because we played really well. It's just that I'd say they edged it in front of goal anyway. And then the Wigan game, you can't really comment on a 96th minute winner when it should have really been a 0-0. But anyway. But I think the response to the Fleetwood loss is something that might define our season, because since Fleetwood we haven't lost. We've lost embarrassingly and then gone unbeaten for 5 games. Granted, 2 of them, one of them was a bit of a touch and go draw against Crewe, and then a good result against Lincoln, in which were a draw. But if we can maintain that mindset of if we lose where we haven't played at our best, and then still go on and crack on and improve on that and get results out of it, that could push us higher up the table. But unfortunately, if you take away the draw, if you turn the draw against Crewe into a win and turn the Wigan loss into a draw, we'd be top at league. So that's fine margins of football right there. But again, fine margins of football, and how it twists and turns, we've beaten the team that is now top at league, and we are their only defeat this season.
Yeah, we'll talk about this. When we played Wigan at Plymouth at the start of the season, Mick, first game of the season, we won 2-0. It was one of the most comfortable games of the season. I am shocked that Plymouth are since then unbeaten and now find themselves top of the league. I don't know if that's we can only take positives from that, can't we, really?
Yeah, you're probably not as shocked as their supporters are. I don't know. I mean, yeah, you could do, I suppose. That was the first game of the season, and there's very little gets proved in first game of the season, is there? They're up there on merit at the moment, aren't they? But having said that, I might be shouted down on this. I don't know who they've played. Have they played 11 out of the bottom, 10 out of the bottom 11 or whatever? I don't know. It's starting to sort itself out, and they've given, as have we, as have Sunderland, they've given themselves a really good chance of not getting relegated. You know what I mean? We're halfway towards that 50 points kind of thing. So, and that's everybody's target, isn't it? Yeah, I'm surprised to see him up there, but it's still not bottomed out this season yet. It's still not really taken shape. It's beginning to. And a lot of the clubs that are up there are the clubs we suspected to be up there: Sunderland, Rotherham, Portsmouth, Wickham. Are there or thereabouts. So, Ipswich may or may not come and join the party. Depends whether they've got any more money left to spend. Who knows? But yeah, I'm surprised to see him up there. But there's time yet, and I suspect, with respect to Plymouth, I suspect they may well drop away, because I don't think, from the little I know of them, I don't really think they've got the quality to maintain that for the full season. But Shrewsbury did it a couple of years ago, didn't they? So
you normally get in League One. It's quite often you get a team that comes out of nowhere and has a decent season. Wickham, obviously, Shrewsbury, Leyton Orient. There's a number of teams that have done it. Let's see if they last out. Over the games with Sin, Danny, we'll go all games. Give a team out. Who do you think? Who's impressed you, opposition-wise? Who we go up against? You thought, wow, they might be up there at the end of the season.
Oh, opposition-wise, just having to scroll through results. I think, like we've already said, Plymouth's a bit of an outlier because we beat them 2-0 and now they're top of the league. Wednesday, you can't really speak highly of them on the Rotherham podcast, or else I'd get clipped and put on their Twitter. I will say Bolton. I thought they were the best team we've played so far, but at the same time, the scoreline makes it seem it were very comfortable with the 2-0. But I'd say out of all of them, Bolton are the most cohesive team we've played this season, and cohesion can go a long way. Yeah,
I think that's probably a fair shout. I'll put Bolton are probably the best team. Mick, what about Morecambe? I thought I was very impressed. No, they're obviously not going to be at top of the league, but I was very impressed with them and have been impressed with them subsequently. The way they set up and the way they play, the togetherness. They're so far the surprise package. I know Plymouth at the top, but Morecambe are the surprise package of the league for me.
When you asked that question, when you asked Danny that question, Morecambe were the first name that came to my mind. I think they've been the toughest challenge this season. I get what Danny's saying about Bolton. I don't necessarily agree with him. I don't think that they were that good. I can't think of anybody else other than Morecambe who I've got any, who I would rate at the moment that we've played so far. Out of all the teams that we've played so far, I think they've all of them got issues that we as a team can exploit. So, you know, I've not seen anybody as good as we are yet.
I will just say Morecambe was my second pick as well. The only thing is they sort of seem to be a little bit of a one-man band with Cole Stockton because he just seems to be scoring all of them for him. But yeah, it's a close first and second between Bolton and Morecambe for me.
Yeah, and we've got a really tough run now coming up. We will have the FA Cup on the first weekend of November, so we've got these. This is the run of fiction before the FA Cup. And then we have probably another international break as well. We've got Portsmouth at home, Wickham at home, MK Dons away, Peterborough in there as well, Sunderland at home, Charlton away, and then the FA Cup game will come in on, I think, probably the 6th or 7th of November. That's not going to define our season, Mick, but that will tell us where we are, if you know. Though some of those teams, one of those teams will get promoted. One of those teams we play, I think, will get promoted. So I think we're going to find out a lot about us in the next 4-6 games or whatever it is.
Yeah, I think you may be right. You may be right. Yeah, the common sense suggests what you've just said there is right. But, you know, you just don't know in football, do you? You just don't know. They've all been flying at some stage throughout this season, all of them. You know, they've all had good wins. But there's only a couple of them above us, and they're only above us by a point or so. You know what I mean? So nobody's running away with this. And we haven't got into our stride yet. Maybe they haven't as well. Maybe some of these other teams haven't as well. But you're right. This is a difficult month. You know, I'm waiting for that run of fixtures against teams near bottom, and we don't seem to have had one yet. You know, or every time we play, you know, it's somebody knocking on door at playoff places or that top 3 area. So maybe we're getting it our way to start with, and they've all got to play each other, and we'll be playing the teams from bottom end of division and losing probably.
I mean, funnily enough, Mick, after this tough run of fixtures, it is actually the run of fixtures of teams down the bottom end.
Yeah, So the Shrewsbury game will probably get moved anyway because that is an international weekend. But then it'll be Cambridge, Ipswich away, Oxford away, which is again 2 tough games. But then it kicks into, in theory, easier games. Steve Evans, Gillingham will come to town in December. Burton, Cambridge, Accrington, Boxing Day. That's everybody. That's half a season there. We get through to. So Nick's dropped out, obviously. North Wales Wi-Fi living up to its name there. A couple of comments here. Ian Bradley rightly points out. Let's see where we are after 20 games. I think that's a fair thing. RUFC Ethan, he was sat in front of us at the game at Scunthorpe. I'm not sure if it was sat in front of me or you, Danny. I was too busy concentrating on trying not to freeze to death, to be honest.
That game. I still haven't recovered from it, honestly. But honestly, the day after, my core was so cold, I just didn't move out of bed. I just felt cold here. You know what I mean? It's horrible. I'm now wearing big jackets and hats.
Well, feel free to say hello. We saw Russ. I saw Russ at the game. It was on Twitter. So nice to speak to him briefly. So yeah, I would hope to see more people at the games as well. Let's see where we are. A couple more questions. J Boy, this is a question which we talked a little bit about Papa John's last week, Danny. But basically, to nail down Jay's question is: if we got to the final, would you still be there? I think I know your answer, but what do you go?
Oh yeah, I'd be there 100%. And I think a lot of fans would be there as well, unless we are in playoffs contention. I think if we're in the playoffs and we are knocking on towards the final or already in the final, depending on how the fixtures end up lying, I don't think many fans will go to the Pizza Trophy game, but it has been a long time since Rotherham were in a cup final at Wembley.
Yes.
So we in theory, if we get to the final of the Papa John's Trophy, which is still quite a big if, we would be the first South Yorkshire team to have appeared in a cup final at both old and new Wembley.
Well, there you go. I don't know that. That'd be a great start.
I mean, we're already first if you include playoffs, but
Yeah.
it'd just be like an extra string to your bow of we're the only club in South Yorkshire that's had a cup final at old and new Wembley. If we get there.
If we get there. Ian Bradley Player says he'd prefer to play the top sides for the reasons that kind of like, get them out of the way, let's play them. But you got to play them all twice anyway. So, we're going to talk about. We're going to come again on for some point this week. We're going to have an next podcast. We don't know when it's going to be yet. We'll come to that in a minute. But we've got Portsmouth coming. We're going to preview the Portsmouth game, and let's see where we go. Any other topics that you two want to cover off? We've got a couple more minutes if you wanted to. I've got through everything I needed to ask. Nick's back with us, obviously.
I'm done now. I'll just put another Welshman on Wi-Fi hamster wheel, and he's pedaling away there. But now they're a bit pointless, really. I'm all talked out, really. It's been a bit of a weird week. It's weird being at work, and having all these Wendy's going, "Oh, were you playing this weekend?" Nobody, mate, because we've got internationals in our team. You know what I mean? It's a bit weird because it's usually the other way around, isn't it? But a little bit of a gloat, I guess.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you. If League One continues to have multiple games postponed due to internationals, should the international breaking fixtures come down another tier from the Championship?
It's looking that way. There were only 4 games on Saturday, weren't there? So why he asked the question, what's the point in not having an international break? Because the whole point of ending Iraq is so everybody's games are basically together. Whereas if you do this, you get 4 teams or 8 teams for 4 games. We're playing an extra game, and it becomes too many fixtures out of place. And then you had cup games in, which are going to distort that as well. If we have a cup run, that's going to make our fixture list an absolute nightmare. And other clubs will be in the same situation.
And we know what that's like and all, don't we? We don't want any of that game. We do not want any of that again. So, it costs us a place in Championship potentially. So, the last thing we need is a cup run of any kind, really, quite honestly.
Yes, it is, I suppose. So, we are going to end there. So, the next episode we will put out will be live on YouTube, I think, on Friday, is what is the plan, in theory. We're speaking to hit with Kirk Broadfoot on Thursday, which means we can't go live on Thursday for our normal preview show. Honestly, unfortunately, Kirk Broadfoot comes first, guys. So, so we will probably come back on live on Friday night. The podcast, we'll try and put the podcast out Saturday morning, so everybody still wants to listen to a preview in the Portsmouth game. It will still be out, just a bit shorter time. You can't listen to us on Friday morning this week, unfortunately. And we like to do it, if we do it on Wednesday, we'll miss out on a lot of press conference and things like that. So that's why we're going to try and do it as late as possible towards nearer the game. The Kirk Broadfoot interview will probably be out the following week. Not this week, coming the week after. That depends how much editing we need to do. But as I tweeted out on Facebook and everything else, if you've got any questions you want to send across to Kirk Broadfoot, let us know. He has said for us to get questions from the fans, and we'll put all of them to him that he would like to talk about, and then we'll go from there.
I hope when we talk to him, Matt, you're not going to beat around bush like this. You've got to. There's no point being woolly about it.
Willie, mate, we're going to ask him beforehand. We're not just going to halfway through ask him about the clean incident. We'll ask him beforehand what he wants to cover.
Yes, the suspect gentleman that Chio played with.
Yes. We will ask everything we can ask, is all I will say. And that's the same with every player we speak to as a Rotherham player. We will ask the questions you want us to ask, what we can. So, thank you all for watching. If you're all watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and like the video. If you are on iTunes, Spotify, wherever your audio listening habits are, make sure you've subscribed. And if you can give us a 5-star rating where applicable, please do, because we do that makes us look pretty good. Thank you. And if you're not following us on Twitter, go and follow us on Twitter, because you'll see if we do speak to more players in the future, you'll see it there first, which will hopefully get a few more on in the next couple of weeks. Fingers crossed. Mick, I can't believe this has gone so well with your wife.
I know, it's remarkable, isn't it? All that time sat in car, and all I could have done is just sat here instead.
I think you liked it secretly, didn't you?
Yeah, possibly, yeah.
What we don't know is that he's actually rented a camper van with Wi-Fi and he's actually sat in the same car park.
I just sold my camper van.
Yeah. And Danny, it's a pleasure for you to be here as well.
Yeah, always a pleasure.
We'll finish on saying it's National Mental Health Day today, and it's always a very important topic that everybody needs to talk about. So if you are somebody who's struggling, reach out for help. If you need it, don't be afraid to ask for help. It's okay to not to be okay, and it's always okay to talk. So anybody needs anything, reach out to us, reach out to the charities that are in your mind and things such as that. We're here for you. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.
Freddie's on one-on-one. Can Freddie finish shoot? Can Freddie go shot? Yeah!